seat brackets, seat sliders, and a Sparco seat. Could only mean one thing. The Subi's getting some love today. So let's get it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And if you're new here and this is your first time, welcome. I really appreciate you stopping by. Today, we're going to install a new driver's side seat in the Subaru. But we're also going to talk about, is it really worth it upgrading your seats? But first, before we dive into the install, let's go over everything that we needed. Everything that you need for this install, I'll have linked in the description below. I got everything off of Amazon, so it shouldn't be too hard to purchase if it's something that you would want. The first thing right here in front of me is the seat brackets. This is just a no-name seat bracket that I purchased off of Amazon. It cost me $85 for the pair, so I also have a passenger seat one as well. But $85 for two of them versus about $125 to $150 each if you get something like a Sparco or a Corbo or a Planet, I think it's called. So we're going to try these out. This isn't going to be for racing, so I don't need anything too FIA approved or too fancy. As long as it keeps me seated and bolted and safe in the car, it'll do the job that I need it to do. As for the sliders, I went with the Sparco sliders just because I wanted them to match the Sparco seat. We got this for $76, but if you're balling on a budget, you can get universal generic no-name brand sliders for anywhere from $30 to $40. I'll link those in the description as well in case you don't want to go with the name brand Sparcos. You want to go with something that is a little bit more affordable. Lastly, the seat that I purchased was the Sparco R100 seat. The reason I went with the Sparco R100 seat is because I wanted something that I could still recline, something that would still be comfortable, but also something that was name brand that I would feel safe putting my body into, because I was not going to chance my life with one of those $30, $40 racing seats that Amazon offers when I see reviews about them crumpling or breaking just from driving, let alone being into an accident. It was $300. The only reason I have one seat and not two is because I went with the red and black to match the Subi, and they only had one red in stock. So we went with the one. We'll see how it does, and then eventually we'll get a second matching one in the passenger seat. But to put this seat in the car, it's going to take more than your bracket, your slider, and your seat. You're also going to need the tools. So over here, I have all the tools that you're going to need. So we have the mounting hardware kit that Sparco provided. I am using a battery-operated cordless ratchet, and I'm also going to be using an impact gun. You don't need to do that. Everything can be done through hand tools. I'm just using the power tools because I have them. Make it easier on me, and it'll make it quicker. What you'll need is a 14mm socket. So I have a bunch of different ones here. A 3/8 inch ratchet. Again, you can use a 1/2 inch if you have it, or you can use the power tools. You'll need a 13mm wrench. And then you'll also need a 6mm hex. Again, I'll have all that listed in the description so that you guys can get everything you need to get this install. So the plan for this installation is very simple. Most of the work is actually done here in the garage or in your workspace. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your sliders, you're going to plant them to the seat, then you're going to plant the sliders to the bracket. Once all that's installed and combined, then we're going to go out to the Subi, take the seat out of the Subi, put the new one in, and you're done. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take the 4 long bolts out of your installation kit. Grab this one here to show you. There is a short bolt and a long bolt. So to install the sliders onto the seat itself, you need the 4 long bolts, and this is where that hex key will come into play. But you're going to take all 4 of these, and these are what you're going to use to mount the slider to the bottom of the seat. So once you have it propped up however you need to, I'm using the floor and a tote just so that I can use the floor as a second set of hands to hold the slider for me. But once you have it situated however you need to, you just got to take one of your bolts and thread it through the bottom up into the seat itself. Be careful that you don't cross thread them because they can cross thread easy. I like to just start one and then work over onto the second one and get that one started. And then to make your life easier, once you have the top 2 or the bottom 2, however you start, once you have the 2 in, tighten these down, not all the way down, but enough to keep this snug. Because what you're going to have to do is use your slider and slide the rails back to get to the front holes. So again, you want to tighten these down as much as you can. Don't over tighten, don't torque them to spec yet. Just enough so that you can move the lever and slide the rails back and forth. Again, you can use a ratchet. I'm going to use my power ratchet just so that my life's a little bit easier. All right, and then like I said, once you have those put on, you're going to want to push your slider in and slide your rail up, and then push it in and slide this rail up. And by doing that, you're going to expose these holes so that you can take your other 2 bolts and get those bolted in as well. And this is where not over tightening or over torquing these top bolts come into play, because you will have to move these sliders a little bit just to get the holes to line up where you need them to. Once they're started, send them home. Now that those are in and torqued down, then we're going to go up here. We're going to get those torqued down, and boom, now you have your seat sliders attached to your seat. Next step is to take the sliders themselves and attach them to the bracket. All right, now for me, because I'm old, I got the sliders put on there. I took the actual seat itself and I took it and I flipped it upside down and I put it on top of my toolbox. Reason I did that was so I don't have to stay on my knees while I install them. My knees are killing me. I'm old and fat. What can you say? But this way I can stand. Everything's more obtainable and reachable for me. So let's go ahead and get that bracket put on these sliders. Alright, sorry about that. Apparently my camera did not film this part, but we went ahead and we got the brackets put on there. The easiest way to put the brackets on there is if you take the bolt, thread it from the top side, and then take the nut and actually tighten down the nut from the bottom side. So the way you want to do that is take your bolt and push it through, and then on the bottom side put a washer on it first and then tighten that nut down. You'll need your 6mm hex key, and then you'll also need that 13mm wrench, because this is a locking nut, and that way everything gets tightened down for you. But all right. We went through everything. You guys don't want to hear me talk. Let's get out to the Subi itself and let's get this thing installed. All right, now that we're out in the car, I can show you why I'm changing my seat. Whether or not it's worth it for you is totally up to you guys. But as you can see on my seat, I have a pretty big rip right there. I also have a rip up there. And I don't know how well I can show it. And as you can see here, the whole seat's broken. The slide rail is actually broken on this side of the seat. So I figured we might as well go ahead and get this whole seat replaced. So to take it off, it's very, very simple. There's a 14mm bolt there, 14mm bolt there, and then one on each corner. We're going to take those off on the back first. Then we're going to slide the seat back, take the 2 off, and then the seat's out. So let's do it. I'm going to show you this too. Once you get the seat unbolted, you do have a yellow wire and a black wire that you'll have to disconnect before you can take the entire seat out. So let me get that disconnected so we can get this seat out. All right, so here's the difference of the seats side by side. So as you can see, actually there's even more damage I didn't even notice right there. So there's even more. But when I come down here, you can see that that slider's fully intact. That slider's completely broken. And whoever had this before me really got a lot of moisture in the car because those front bolts were completely rusted to shit. But as we look at both these seats together, the Sparco actually offers more bolstering in the lap part. It also offers tighter bolstering in your midsection, and it offers head bolstering, which the stock WRX one does not. It can take a 4-point harness. It's reclinable. And also, one other thing too is the weight savings. The WRX right here, that one weighs about 50 pounds to where this one all in weighs about 30 to 35 pounds. So that 20-pound weight difference actually equates to about 10 additional horsepower. So if I were to change out the passenger seat, I'm adding 20 horsepower to this car just by saving the weight. So I definitely think that's a good deal for it. But let's go ahead and get it inside the car and actually see if it's comfortable and how well it actually fits. All right, it's installed. You know, let's talk about, is it worth it? If you're in my predicament with a broken seat, 100%, I think it's 100% worth it. All in, I'm about $500 between the bracket, the slider, and the seat. For around that same price is how much it would cost me to buy a replacement seat from a junkyard. That's the WRX, that's already used. So I might as well spend a few bucks more and get something brand new. Construction wise, it's a great seat is made by Sparco. It's never not going to have good construction. I think the other factory seats was more comfortable. Not saying that this one's not comfortable. The difference is with this one, you're sitting on something hard and something more sturdy, to where the factory seat is more plush, more comfortable. You kind of sink into that, to where this one you sit more on top. Overall, I sit higher up than I did in my factory seat, but that's not a hindrance for me. Again, I'm going to go with the shoulder straps or the harness here soon, so I like this seat better for that. But all in all honesty, if you're driving a daily driver or a street car and your seats are perfectly fine and you're not doing autocross or anything like that, no, I don't think this is actually worth it. The only thing you're really going to get out of it is aesthetics, and aesthetics is in the eye of the beholder. You know, if you think $500 for something aesthetically pleasing is worth it, go for it. By all means, be my guest. But if you're like me and you want to spend that $500 on an engine performance parts or something that'll make the outside stand out, I think there's money better spent on that area more than a seat itself. But all in all, I'm glad I made the upgrade. It definitely feels better than sitting on a broken seat, so I can't compare brand new to non-broken seat with mine being broken, but I enjoy it. It's comfortable. One thing I will say in installation is on the back seat, or the back of the seat, I had to use a ratcheting wrench because the way that the seat bracket is actually formed, you can't get a ratchet or even an impact gun down there to shoot it down, so we did have to use a ratcheting wrench for that. But other than that, install was a breeze. I mean, if I wasn't shooting it on camera and just doing it myself, I think maybe an hour tops. But I mean, with filming it, this is taking me a couple hours. But I think it's a great seat, and I like the bolstering in this. I gained an extra 10 horsepower once I get the passenger side done. I'll gain another 10, so 20 horsepower. But I feel like you could find 20 horsepower for less than $1,000 if you went a different route. I mean, that $1,000 could get you a turbo, which, I mean, you're making now 40, 50, 60 extra horses. You do it that way. But I appreciate it if you made it this far in the video. I appreciate it. Please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Leave me a comment on your thoughts about racing seats, especially the Sparco R100, or specifically in a street daily use. I would love to hear what you have to say. Again, thank you so much, and I'll catch you in the next one.